Above everything else, he wants the war to end. And I think today Ukraine has taken a concrete step in that regard.
Ми готові зробити такий крок. Сполучені Штати Америки мають переконати Росію зробити це.
On March 11th, at a high-level meeting in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, the U.S. and Ukraine issued a joint statement announcing Ukraine's readiness to accept a U.S. proposed 30-day interim ceasefire. This ceasefire aims to halt all hostilities across land, sea, and air. In response, the U.S. agreed to resume military aid and intelligence sharing with Ukraine, which had been suspended since earlier diplomatic tensions. Additionally, both sides have agreed to revive discussions on a mineral resources agreement that had previously derailed after the U.S. Ukraine summit fell through. This proposed deal envisions joint investment in Ukraine's mineral wealth, with the United States gaining access to revenues from these resources. While the agreement underscores U.S. support for Ukraine's pursuit of security guarantees, it does not explicitly provide such assurances. Now, the key question is whether Russia, a direct party to the war, will agree to the deal. President Putin has expressed conditional support for the idea of a ceasefire, but there are still unresolved issues before committing to the agreement. He also hinted at the possibility of a phone call with President Trump to discuss the details of the ceasefire. This suggests that Moscow is not ready to immediately accept the 30-day ceasefire proposal. For Russia, the ultimate goal extends beyond a temporary truce. It seeks a permanent ceasefire that formally recognizes the Ukrainian territories it has occupied over the past 3 years as part of Russia. Additionally, Moscow insists on international recognition of its sovereignty over Crimea and 4 regions of Ukraine that it annexed after 2022. However, this directly contradicts Ukraine's position. Kyiv acknowledges Russia's de facto control over these areas, but rejects their de jure annexation, while Washington is taking a flexible approach, prioritizing a ceasefire now and leaving territorial disputes for future negotiations. This strategy underscores the significant divide between Ukraine and Russia on the issue of territorial sovereignty. At the same time, the fact that President Trump, who campaigned on ending the Ukraine war, is leading these negotiations puts additional pressure on Russia. In fact, U.S. President Donald Trump has warned that if Russia refuses to accept the ceasefire agreement, Washington could impose economic measures against Moscow.
I can do things financially that would be very bad for Russia. I don't want to do that because I want to get peace.
President Zelensky also continues to pressure Russia, stating that everything now depends on Moscow's decision.
Сьогодні залежить все від того, чи хоче Росія припинення вогню і тиші, або вона хоче продовжувати вбивати людей.
Despite these developments, President Putin visited the Russian military command in Kursk and emphasized the importance of reclaiming all Russian territories occupied by Ukrainian forces. This marks Putin's first visit to Kursk since the war began, a move widely seen as a demonstration of Russia's military resolve and a signal of its commitment to achieving its objectives on the front lines.
Moscow might think it's pressing home a military advantage. So for the time being, Russia can sit back and wait. Everybody is saying the ball is in Putin's court. That also means that Russia has the initiative.
Meanwhile, tensions on the battlefield between Ukraine and Russia have escalated even further. Both sides are intensifying their offensive to secure the most advantageous positions before a ceasefire and to gain leverage in the negotiations. Russia, in particular, is demonstrating strong confidence in the war. On March 11th, the Russian Defense Ministry announced that it had recaptured 12 villages in Russia's Kursk region, which had been under partial Ukrainian control since last August. At the same time, European leaders are intensifying discussions on post-war security arrangements for Ukraine, including the deployment of European-led peacekeeping forces. Following a meeting of military chiefs from over 30 countries in Paris, defense ministers from the UK, France, Germany, Italy, and Poland held a separate meeting. On March 15th, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer chaired a virtual conference to solidify the Coalition of the Willing initiative. Russia has strongly opposed these European initiatives, especially the potential deployment of NATO peacekeeping forces in Ukraine, viewing such actions as direct threat to its sovereignty. With Moscow taking a hardline stance, the road to peace deal remains rocky. At the same time, the relationship between the U.S. and Ukraine is proving to be just as unpredictable as Russia's position. President Trump's history of introducing unexpected proposals during sensitive negotiations adds another layer of uncertainty. For instance, during ceasefire talks, Trump unveiled a reconstruction plan for Gaza, which drew criticism from Hamas. This pattern raises concerns that similar unexpected demands could emerge in discussions regarding Ukraine's mineral resources, potentially hindering progress. The recent public clash between Trump and Zelensky at the White House has further underscored the growing tensions between Washington and Kyiv.
He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
Hunter Biden,
The war.
you're not in a good position. You don't have the
the
cards right now. With us, you start having cards.
The 30-day ceasefire agreement has sparked hope, but key uncertainties remain. Russia's response, shifts in U.S.-Ukraine relations, and other unresolved variables. How will these negotiations unfold, and what impact will they have on the global security landscape? This is a critical moment to watch closely.